Welcome to the Dumb Idea Podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share this video or podcast on any platform that you're listening on. Please visit us at www.dumbideapodcast.com. Welcome back. Another show, another episode. Surprised we're still here. we haven't been thrown off any platforms yet. We live in an area close to Annapolis. We've mentioned that before. That's not a big reveal or anything. In this area, though, we've got quite a lot of water, and boating is a very, very big recreational activity in this area. In fact, I think it's the second largest boating area next to San Diego in the United States. And Mike and I, we don't own boats, right?
No.
And I've always had an interest in boats. I used to work, it's basically in security of boating and ports, and I barely know port and aft, but I know enough about securing a boat, but I don't know anything about buying a boat or anything as far as recreational boating goes. And for someone who's lived in this area for over 20 years, I was like, would love to know. I've got like a few questions about it. And what better way to get some of my questions answered than bringing in Andrew Smith, Smitty, from SmittyYachtGroup.com.
SmithyYachtGroup.com.
SmithyYachtGroup.com?
Yeah.
That's my bad.
Well, that's my website.
Listen,
but
that's not the first
with
website
United
I've screwed
Yacht
up.
Sales, but that's my website. Yeah.
That's not the first website I've screwed up for anyone that's listening. I've screwed up our own website,
yes.
dumbideapodcast.com. In fact, last show, I didn't even mention it.
No.
I didn't advertise our website at all.
Can't even plug ourselves.
No, I didn't. I didn't plug that on.
We're pretty good at this.
Speaking of plugs, though. Speaking of plugs. We're not going to plug any boats, but we're going to plug Portac Limited Wine and Spirits in the Baydale Plaza in Arnold, 21012. Great selection of wines and spirits. They've had their spring beers out for a little while. If you want to get out and get something nice, light, refreshing. Although I think the summer beers are the real light and refreshing ones, but the new ones they've got out there, new beers, new wines. Spirits are spirits, though. I don't think they really change those much. But if you're kind of up in the air on what you like, what you want to taste, what new things are out there, go give those guys over at Portac. Go say hello. Let them know you heard of them from the Dumb Idea Podcast. Which honestly, we're gonna change that name. We keep talking about changing it. We're gonna change it here in probably next month or so. Get a new website up. Get a new name, and name it something a little more appropriate for what we talk about. Although we do talk about a lot of dumb ideas.
Is there a Dad Bods podcast?
I think there is, though. I think that name was taken.
Probably.
That's another thing. Trying to find a name that someone else hasn't already taken, or a website. Like you want to call it. You want your website to be the same as your podcast name. So you got to make sure that the website's not taken. You got to make sure the podcast name's not taken. So it's taking us a little longer than we'd like. Plus, we're just indecisive and can't figure out what we want to call it.
Just running through some focus groups.
That's right.
We had that guy from Fox News with the weird face come in here and pitch the names to a bunch of suburban women.
Yeah.
We got to get that guy from the Chevy Cruise commercials. Remember that guy?
I like the guy from the parodies better.
Right, no, that's what I mean. That's the guy I'm talking about. Let me guess, it's a Chevy Cruise.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask me to look at that from home.
What's that color? Burnt rust?
But no, go Portac Limited Wine and Spirits. Please go over there. Let them know you heard about it from us, or just let them know. Even if you've already gone there many times, let them know you hear that they sponsor the show. That would help us out a lot. Plus, please like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever. Share it with a friend. Put it on your Facebook page. Tell your mom about it. Tell your dad, cousins, sisters, brothers, everybody. I'm sure we're a podcast for a lot of people, right?
That's the everyman's podcast.
Maybe not the kids.
Maybe not.
Everyone is tired and angry.
Although maybe next week we can do an Elmo episode. We'll do that. Or Dora the Explorer, where they just let a poor young immigrant girl walk around the forest forever, and she's always going over rivers, and she ended up with a monkey. But hey, look, maybe we'll do that as an episode. We brought Smitty on because, like I said, we live in an area with a lot of water. We see boats all the time. Not that we live in one of those kind of neighborhoods, but people, you can't throw a stone and not hit someone's house that owns a boat around here. But I'm just interested. I mean, I would love to know how the purchase goes. How does even someone find you? If I were going to buy a boat, I wouldn't even know where to start as far as what size I wanted.
Sure.
So let's say, for example, all right, I don't have a boat. Never had one. But I've gone down and got my boating license. Somehow. I don't even know how that happened. How do you get a boating license?
You have to go through DNR for that, right?
You go through course to do it, but under certain horsepower, it changes here and there, but under certain horsepower,
Do you drive your own boat, though? Like, when you go take a driving test at the DMV, you bring the car
No,
with
it's
you.
all online.
It's all online.
So you don't have to actually go drive a boat?
No,
So how do they know you could drive a boat?
they don't.
They don't.
They just say, "Oh, screw it. You're old enough. You can
Up to a certain, well, a lot of where it does matter is on the larger.
It's like tonnage, right?
Yeah, large, and sometimes that's due to how much horsepower as well. But on the larger boats, it's really more about the insurance. In order to get insurance, you've got to prove. I don't know how you prove, but captain's time, or if you've been on deliveries, what your experience is, and a lot of it up until captain's license is kind of honesty too.
I have none of that. I have zero.
You mean you're not honest?
Zero experience.
No, I'm not. I'm
Sure.
Look, we are what we are. I'm not an honest person.
Zero experience, zero honesty.
But in terms of where you look for boats, so funny enough, I sell boats, but I don't own one right now. I'm 39, bald. We're spending about $20,000, $30,000 a year in daycare bills, so that's kind of the boat fund,
Right, yeah.
We're living that kind of life, but we're like real estate agents, but for boats, with probably not as good of a reputation. Someone once told me that a boat broker in the dictionary is the lowest form of marine life. And in my dealings with Florida, I found that that's got some accuracy to it.
But see, that's another aspect of it, though. Like, you compared it to being a real estate agent, but a real estate agent, they're selling houses or commercial properties or doing leases within their area.
Sure.
You're not, I mean, sometimes you've got to go to Maine, Boston. I mean, do you even go to California? Do you do that side of the country? Or is it mostly regional?
I've never done West Coast, but for the right project, I'm sure you'd go anywhere, right?
Sure, yeah.
Someone's going to pay you. Why not? He's really Maine to Florida. The nice thing is the company I work for now. So for the first 13 years, right out of college, I started selling boats, and I bartended at the Annapolis Yacht Club a couple nights a week to really get started. To network, but also to make a little bit of money because it's all commission. No one's going to just show up and hand you a check. You gotta kind of earn it.
Right.
But so I worked for a small company in Annapolis for 13 years, and it was great. But I had to reach out a little bit. Now the company I'm affiliated with now, we've got over 200 brokers. So we're quite a team, and I'll help a lot of the guys in Florida and Maine all over with stuff up here, and they'll help me sometimes with stuff down there. But it also gives me a presence where I can list boats in Florida, in different places, and work out arrangements with other brokers to work on them together instead of having somebody else get them. Because a lot of them are customers we've had for years that, we live in Maryland. At certain times of the year it gets cold. Nobody wants to keep the boat here, and they'll bring them down to Florida, and they go back and forth based on hurricane season and insurance and that kind of stuff.
When you said 200, you got 200 brokers within your group. To me, that sounds like a ton for boats. Like, I could say, I get it. I mean, around this area, there are 200 real estate agents, sure, but there's a ton of houses.
Well, Alex,
how many boats really are there to sell that you can have 200 guys in a group all eating?
Well, not here in Maryland, Alex. Our company's based
up and down the coast. I get it.
The company's based in Stuart, Florida. In Florida, I don't think you can walk without running into someone who's a boat broker.
Gotcha.
It's just, I mean, that's the state to be in. You've got to have a presence down there because it feeds you in the wintertime.
Now, is it mostly leisure boats or is it also commercial boats?
Both.
Oh, really? Okay, so commercial guys will go through a broker as well.
Sometimes, sure.
Okay.
Depends on what they're looking for. They got to do offshore crabbing or you name it. I mean, a lot of times the commercial stuff is a little bit separate, but we've done it. I mean,
So have you ever done a deal where, so like up here you'll have, because I'm always looking at boats.
Sure.
So Alex is always looking at cars. I'm always looking at boats. So
Alex likes flipping cars, that's for sure.
I flip them. I actually drive them. They just don't last very long.
I'll go on a, and especially this time of year, because I'll drive across the Severn River and look out and you see nothing but wakes out there and boats. And then I'll go on a fishing charter. And I love being on the water. My grandfather was a sea captain. He was a captain of an oil tanker, so I think it kind of runs in my blood. And I love being on the water, love fishing. So the second I get back, I'm going to go and look at boats. But like you'll go to these marinas where the fishing charters will run out of, and you'll see the boats for sale. Or you'll see the license for sale, but in order to buy there, because the commercial fishing license is a big deal.
It is, yeah.
Or commercial crabbing license. So you'll see them selling the license, but you have to buy the boat too.
Sure.
It's a package deal.
I get it.
So have you ever worked on anything like that, or is that more of a...
We have, but it's been a while, and I'm trying to remember all the circumstances to it because there were some things we could facilitate. We were able to facilitate the boat transaction, but we had to forget how we dealt with the business side to it because it's not something that we could really get involved with to a degree.
Yeah.
We had to have like lawyer paperwork drawn up on that and have it figured out. But I think they ended up buying it in an LLC, so it kind of made it simple anyways. Just bought ownership shares.
So if you buy the fishing license, does the license go with the boat or does it go with the captain?
So you'll have... Now, Smitty, you might know better than me, but so like you can get an individual recreational license.
Yeah.
You can get a
Six
recreation license for the vessel, which, so say I had a little center console, the three of us could go on and we can each catch fish or crabs recreationally and be fine. Everyone on the boat is covered. And I think now I know when you look at the charter boats, for the fishing charters, they're all covered under, like they'll have the numbers and stuff on the boat itself.
Yes.
But I don't
they're
know
required
if
to.
I don't know if that captain, if his boat went down, if he could just jump on another boat and go out and fish under his own license.
I'm not sure either. I don't know that.
Because I know like with trucking, the DOT number goes with the driver.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So they can, like, the one guy can jump in a different cab, slap his DOT number on, and he's good to go. I didn't know if I didn't know if like fishing licenses were like
I'm
that.
not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But see but the thing is, you can own the fishing license and not even be on the boat while it's out there.
That's
you
true.
can have employees on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the charters I used to go on a lot, the captain didn't own the boat. Someone else owned the boat. He just ran it for him.
Yeah.
So, and the mate.
So he probably had the commercial license.
Well,
and whatever boat he's affiliated with.
Well, the owner had the owner of the boat had the license. He was working for the owner of the boat.
Oh.
Because you can own more than one boat.
Right.
I think you have to have the licenses spread out. Like, I mean, you can't have one license and fish 13 boats. So,
I didn't know that.
But yeah, but they are hard to come by. So,
all right. So someone contacts you, says, "Hey, I want a boat." Now, by the time they get to you, should they already know what they want, or
no?
Or you kind of also walk them through, like, okay, what do you want it for? Do you want it for fishing, or do you want it for?
I mean,
you're gonna sleep on the boat.
Yeah, I'll go through all those things with the people, but I think what's a little harder this year or the last few years is kind of like our conversation in the prior podcast about cars. In a normal market, people are able to go to boat shows and they can look at a ton of stuff and they can get an idea of layouts and size and sort of get a better feel for what they're looking at. And then that helps narrow down where we take you next. And then you start looking at what's on the market, what your price point is, if we need to get you financed, and all those things. What's trickier now is that there's not that much inventory, and what's available is going quickly, that sometimes it's hard for people to get on actual boats to narrow down a direction. And in the last couple of boat shows, it's at the point where clients of mine who've purchased brand new boats, in the contract, they have to bring it to the Bay Bridge show or some other show so that the dealers can showcase an actual boat to write a new build on. Because if not, they're essentially, here's a picture of what the boat looks like. Once you give me $100,000 deposit, we'll build it for you in 18 months. It doesn't. So they need inventory, and we had a delay with the supply chain and all that stuff like everybody else. We're still going through that. A lot of factories shut down during COVID. A lot of the foreign companies like Benetto's, there were parts and fabrics and delays and getting them from places. So we've had challenges like any other industry in the last few years. It's a good thing in some ways, but I don't know how sustainable it is.
Would you say the boat industry mirrors the car industry or the housing industry as far as when sales are hot versus sales are cold?
I think car probably more than houses. The only now, mainly because I think it's a little bit shorter. I think it's going to be a little shorter market than like cars. 'Cause now, where it's similar to cars is, let's say in the last couple of years, because what people are buying, what are supposedly depreciating assets, right? Usually it's 15 to 20% in the first couple of years that you're going to lose.
Right.
Because if not, why not just buy a brand new one, right? Now, I'm willing to do that on, I never really thought I would ever buy a brand new car, but the last cars we bought new. And, that's where they give you like the election day promise. Oh, here's the 0% financing. We'll throw the warranty. All right, fine. 0% financing. I got 2 kids. Why not? I mean, you're giving it to me.
I did the same thing with my last car purchase.
So you're willing to do that on a $30,000, $35,000 car, asset that you're going to hopefully run into the ground over 10 years and pay off in 5 years. But on a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 boat, these are really big hits you're taking in the first couple of years. And then in this market, it's changed dramatically because people bought a boat for $380,000, and then all of a sudden the cost of a new build is almost $500,000.
Right.
And that's the only thing that's kind of changed. Now, I think the ones that are going to get hurt when the market ultimately changes are going to be the people now getting in on the brand new stuff. The used market has stabilized because the cost to build everything now just keeps going through the roof. And that's what's helped the used market. Now, even before all of this, 2008 to 12, during the recession, we had a shortage of boats because a lot of manufacturers went out of business.
Uh-huh.
They weren't building as many boats. And a lot of these boats, people don't want them after 20, 30, 40 years. They're just not desirable. They're hard to insure. I'm not really sure where they end up, to be honest with you. I've seen some of those there's a boneyard down in Punta Gorda, Florida, I've been to, where you drive through and it's just like a burial ground for boats. Just sitting there, salvage yard.
They end up in Cape St. Clair on trailers.
Sure.
I gotta imagine like an old boat though. It's kind of, it's almost like an old car in that regard, where after a car is 10 years old and has over 100,000 miles, you can't get financing for it anymore.
Okay. Makes
now,
sense.
I don't know if they changed that with the whole pandemic thing and the car prices went up, but like I remember because I was looking at like some 03 to 06 Chevy Tahoes or Cadillac Escalades, like that body style. The problem is now like they want like 12 to 13 grand for some of those.
Yeah,
and you can't get financing for them.
Sure.
So unless you can afford 13 grand cash for a 15-year-old car.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have that kind of coin. Yeah. But it's when you mention the depreciation, but now it's like the depreciation isn't as bad. A friend of mine bought, I want to say it's like a Wellcraft center console or something. It was a decent boat, so he buys this thing, takes it out, buys it in 18, then I guess 19 or 20, he pulls it out of the water, doesn't winterize it,
Oh,
but he ends up, and then one of this had a blown cylinder on the outboard.
no. Yeah.
He ends up selling it for more than he paid for it because there was such a shortage of boats. This dude just wanted a boat bad because boating got real popular over the pandemic. It was like the socially distant thing to do.
Yeah.
So he ends up selling this thing for more than he paid for it.
Well, and the other reason I think it's more like the car market overall at the end of the day than the housing market is that people always need somewhere to live, somewhere to sleep. Not everyone needs a yacht.
Yeah.
And
Some people could buy a yacht and sleep on it.
Sure, but at some point though, yachts kind of is not the necessity as much as the home, and that's where we've, eventually it's going to get to that point. I don't know how long the market will stay the way it is, but
Go ahead.
I don't think any financial person is going to advise you to sell your house and buy a boat and live on the boat.
Let me ask you this. 'Cause speaking of financing, so I'm familiar with the RV world. With the RV world, you can finance an RV over 20 years.
same with the boat.
Okay, so, and can you also can you deduct the taxes and insurance you pay on it, just like a home? Because like with a motorhome, the interest and the taxes that I pay on that thing, not that I guess I don't pay taxes on it because I paid it when you buy it, but the interest, basically it counts like mortgage interest, and it's deductible on your taxes because it's considered a second home.
If you do, if you consider it a second home, I think you can.
Okay.
Where we are, so the state of Maryland in general, sales tax, 6%?
Yeah.
Boats, it's 5% excise tax. It's a one-time 5% excise tax.
Yeah,
It's capped though.
RVs are very similar. It's the one-time tax.
Yeah.
I meant the interest is what you can deduct from your taxes. I bet you that's something that a lot of people that are looking at boats, when they see the price tag, it's kind of like sticker shock. But they don't realize that you're not financing it like a car. You're not financing over 5 years. You can finance over 15 or 20. It really drops the payment quite a bit. And then
if it's new enough, 20, yeah.
Yeah, but then on top of that, if you can deduct the interest that you're paying, I mean, yeah, you might be paying like $600, $800, $900 a month on your boat, on your brand new boat, but at the same time, the net is actually a little bit less when you factor in the tax deductions that you get from the interest.
Yeah, if everything looks good, usually what they'll do is 80% of book value they'll lend you. So normally we do 10% deposit normally is what you put down on the boat initially, and then they'll need another 10%. But a lot of times they roll the taxes into it, so it ends up being really 15% at the end of the day. As long as the boat's, new enough. What I mean by that is 2000, 2001, 2002, 20 years. It gets a little bit older than that. You can get boat financing. It's just a lot of these companies, what they deal. Let's say they got 10 banks they're working with, these lenders. And if it's a brand new boat, all 10 of them are interested. If the boat's between 15 and 20 years old, instead of 10 options, they may have 6 or 7, right?
Yep.
And every one of them's got a different stipulation. One wants it to be a shorter term. One wants the interest rate to be a little higher. One wants a higher down payment, and that kind of stuff. But
RVs are very similar in that regard.
And once
you get over 10 years old, it's rough. It's rough sledding trying to get a loan.
But there are a lot of boat finance companies that also do RVs as well.
Yep.
It seems like a real similar, almost like ice hockey and lacrosse. Like there's a lot of crossover between the.
See, I don't know about that. I think you're either a land person or you're a sea person.
What I'm talking about is the
surf and turf.
No, I'm
surf or turf.
I'm a sea person.
Right.
I have very little interest in RVs.
Right.
But when you look at them, especially the larger boats, where you can spend the night on them, you can, it has a toilet.
Yeah.
A galley, that sort of thing. It's going to fit into that person's life. They're going to fit into my big boat would fit into my life very much in a similar way that your RV fits into your life.
Right.
So that's where I'm talking about. Like, there's similarities in where they fit into people's lives.
So the style of vacation.
Yeah. So it makes sense that, if I had a big boat like that, that would be every weekend. I would have Lindsay and the kids meet me at the dock. Let's go.
So I've got a buddy who's got a yacht. I call it a yacht. When I say yacht, I mean he's got a sailboat. I don't know the length of it, but it's big enough where him, his wife, and his 2 girls, they'll go stay on it for like a week, and they'll take it from south of Annapolis. They'll take it over to the Eastern Shore, and they'll just dock somewhere. Like they'll go over like Tillman Island or something like that.
Oh, I love Tillman Island. It's one of our favorite spots.
So they'll go there
So
and like
chill.
they'll stay on the boat as like their hotel, and they'll enjoy Tillman Island for a week or whatever, or St. Michael's or where, you know. But essentially, it's kind of like if you were to take an RV and you were going to go to a campground.
Yeah.
Well, instead of a campground, they're docking up on a dock over on the other side, and that's where they're staying for the week. They can plug in, and got their full electric and everything, and they got their bathroom on their boat, and their girls are comfortable. And I mean, yeah, no, I see what you're saying now. Like I thought you meant like, is there are people that are buying RVs the people buying boats?
Yeah.
No, you know. I don't think people are buying. If the people are buying the same, that's one rich dude.
Yeah.
That's a different tax bracket.
But now, do you do sailboats and power boats?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I do probably 70-80% power boats, but we'll work with sailboats as well. It's just, you know, a lot of times it just depends on what the listing is to to sell, or so we're like real estate agent. We'll list boats and that we're selling, in addition to working with buyers too. Really just depends on what you guys, and from doing it 17, 18 years now, you get a lot of referrals, return clientele, really whatever it is.
So if I bought a big, say I bought a big Albemarle sport fisherman, I decided that was too much boat for me. I wanted to go to, say, a trawler.
Sure.
I bought the Albemarle from you. I'm likely to come back and be like, hey, Smitty, I want to get a trawler, but I want to get out. I'll buy the trawler through you and sell the Albemarle through the big sport fisherman.
What are our options? Can we sell it? Can we trade it? What are we looking at dollar wise? What are my options? Sure, absolutely.
Well, I think the funny part is when you say broker, in various industries the word broker has a negative connotation, but I think in the boat industry, if I were to buy a boat, rather than going to a boat dealership where I'm going to get sold on that brand of boat, I think I would rather go through a broker who's going to steer me toward the brand of boats that it's almost like having like your own personal car buyer who's like, no, you don't want to go toward the Peugeot, you want to go toward the Toyota for your needs, because let's say, for example, well, I need a car that I can daily drive, get to work on time. Okay. In this instance, I feel like the broker would say, okay, I'm going to steer you toward a Toyota Corolla versus like a Fiat 500, right? They both could suit you the same, but the Toyota's not going to leave you stranded on the side of the road, whereas the Peugeot or the Fiat is, you might die in it because it might catch on fire real quick. I feel like with a yacht broker or boat broker, I feel like, especially if I'm kind of new in the game, like new in the boat world, I was like, look, this is what I want for a boat. I want you to steer me in the right direction. I feel like it plays more of the real estate agent role, where you say, look, these are my parameters. Get me to the finish line.
Now, here's the only thing, though. I know we were talking about the car industry versus the home industry. Now, I will say the boat transactions, though, are mere house transactions a lot more than car transactions, though. And that's the only that's a little bit difficult for some people is that the larger the boat, the more liability there is. And, you're buying a 50, 60-foot yacht, and, the protocol is you go, you look at the boat, you like it, you make an offer, you put a deposit in, and it's contingent upon, most people do, a survey of the boat, an inspection, which includes hauling it out, hiring surveyors, many times multiple surveyors, one specific engine person, and to look at the hull and all the systems as well.
So just before you go on, describe the survey, because a lot of people that are probably listening to this that don't know anything about boats don't really know what a survey would even mean. So
it's basically like a home inspection. But the funny thing is, I found boat inspections are probably because boats have so many parts and pieces and things move that it's much more thorough than we had our house inspection. I have to admit, I was excited that this guy was going to do that we hired to do the home inspection was going to go through this house, and I was going to learn a lot. And he was there about an hour and a half. He looked up the chimney. He goes, "That looks good." I'm like, "What? Seriously?"
Right. He
I was on a 31-foot boat for 8 hours yesterday. Seriously?
Right.
Like, that's nothing. But that's kind of the idea. Now, the main components obviously are the structural integrity. Make sure there's no moisture in the hull in certain spots, soft spots. You get past the structural integrity, you go to the engines, generator, all the electronics, basically they go through every single system on the boat that they can test. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult in the wintertime to do the water system if it's already in the plumbing, if some of it has already been winterized, or kind of depends on what you're working with. But where it gets tough for some people is that the sea trial is usually in conjunction with the survey. And on smaller boats, people, at least in the used market, people want the process to be more like buying a car. Well, the heck with it. I want to know how it rides first before if I put a deposit down. And it's easier on new boats where you can go to a demo day and you get an idea how it rides because the dealer owns the boat. We don't own these boats. Mm. These are someone else's private asset. And if we just sat around and gave boat rides every Sunday, I don't know that I'd be able to sell any boats. I'd just be doing that pirate, especially now the gasoline prices. Well, now I've done many though where someone said to me, "Look, Smitty, I absolutely love this boat, but we're very particular about the ride compared to something, and we have no idea what we're expecting. So what do? I don't want to go through the process of spending several $1,000s to have the boat inspected and only to not like the ride." So I say, okay, look, I'll level with you. We've got to have some skin in the game. There's no point of us going for a boat ride on a Saturday and then you say, okay, I'm going to offer $100,000. Well, they're asking $500,000. Okay, that was great. Then let's make an offer. Let's make an offer with that as a contingency, and we'll. You know what? We won't put the deposit in escrow yet. As long as because that's the thing, you still need, are you paying cash? Are you financing? We got to have all your ducks in a row. And what we'll do is, let's at least get an agreement on price with the contingencies. I'll pitch it to my customer. And most of the time they'll be like, well, yeah, I mean, we got an offer. Let's roll with it. It's it's not like I'm missing on a lot of other buyers. If this person gets on the boat, we do a quick sea trial, they don't like it, then we lose them. We're not tied up for 2 or 3 more weeks waiting for them to survey, get the results and whatever. If there's not a lot of risk in there involved as well. It's just when they own the boat, the risk and liability obviously is on them, and they've got to take that into consideration.
What sort of, because you mentioned ride, and I'm trying to think all the time I spent on boats, your 25-foot center console, zipping down the bay pretty much rides like every other 25-foot center console.
I agree with you, but I think a lot of people, it's just, some people are more particular, and some, it's just, I don't know.
If you're in a chop, and that's the thing, I was on a 30-foot regulator, and I got my guts tossed. I thought that was a terrible ride. Yeah, well, you were dealing with you were zipping along, and
regulator's going to give you one of the better rides.
Yeah, but even though that's a smooth running boat, it's a dry boat. Mm-hmm. But if you're zipping along at 28 knots through 4-foot rollers, it's going to be a crappy ride.
Any boat, yeah.
I don't care unless it's a sailboat that's riding through it.
Oh, I know.
I got to imagine though, different boats cut through the waves. Some do better than others, right?
So
or is it all the same kind of ride?
A heavier boat,
right.
the big
trawlers,
the trawlers down east that you see a lot of the bay fishing charters on.
Yep.
They're heavy. They ride through the water, where you've got a fiberglass hull center console that's riding on plane on the water.
Yeah.
So
displacement, or what we call the heavier trawlers.
Yeah.
Like Nordhaven would be the example of a go around the world yacht. It's got a bulbous bow that literally could break through ice. It's incredible. I'll get you one.
No, I can't wait.
But
does it have a toilet? Because if it doesn't have a toilet, I can't go.
Yeah, but around here you don't see many of those. But we get a lot of center consoles, motor yachts, sport fish. It's just the heavy duty sport fish. Other than the guys that might do commercially around here, you're going to find them near Ocean City, Delaware, New Jersey. On the ocean.
The Manio, because my mom and dad used to live in the Outer Banks. When I go down to Manio, that's where the the charter fleet was for that area.
I love that place.
And watched them
Pirates
pull
Cove,
up.
yeah.
Oh, those boats are beautiful.
We used
Just
to go,
beautiful boats.
We used to go all the way down to Hatteras by Ocracoke.
Mm-hmm.
And just lots of big ships.
Yeah.
Like, most of them I think were commercial, though.
Sure.
Bringing in, but that was a great place. Like, we go crabbing down there.
Yeah.
When we were there, like, we could walk down to some, like, a friend's house, and they let us drop in some crab pots for the day.
Sure.
Cook them right there on the dock. It was a fun time. We'd always talk about going back.
Do you actually have customers that come in and have, like, I want to buy a boat, and they have no idea, like, or do most of them kind of like, hey, I want to fish, I want to cruise, I want to overnight, like, do they?
Most people have a little bit of a baseline of what they want, but I've had some where we've met with a couple, and my point of contact was only the husband, and I wish it had been the wife. They wanted me to set up a bunch of boats to look at, and everything I had set up to show was the exact opposite style than what they wanted. And they're like, well, I want to look at this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, I understand, but like, this is what you sent me. I sent all of these to you ahead of time, and you approved them. I thought you would discuss this with your wife. I can't just drop everything. I mean, the problem is we still, like realtors, we still have to like get access to these boats, make sure they're available, find out the key location, find out where they are. It's not if you have the wrong information. Sometimes you can do that, but sometimes you can't. You need a little bit of time.
So how do you stop from having to fly all over the place with a client? Let's say it's a first-time client with you.
Well, a lot of times other brokers will do courtesy showings for one another. See, we have an MLS system, and I'll do courtesy showings for any other broker. I mean, that's my job. Whether I get paid more money to sell it myself or whether I have to split it with another broker, I don't care. My job's, yeah, we'd all love to make the big pop every time, but our job is to sell the boat.
Right, but I know, for example, like with,
so we'll do
with like a
courtesy
house,
showings.
Though. Yeah, but with a house, though, like if I was going to go see a house, I want to see it with my real estate agent.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't want to see it with the listing agent because the listing agent's going to make it sound like the greatest thing since sliced bread. Whereas, at least for me, when I would go house searching, one of the criteria I had with my agent was I have an agent because I need you to tell me the stuff that I don't know.
Sure.
I don't need someone to tell me it's pretty. I can see if it's pretty. I need someone to tell me, one, is it priced correctly? Two, is it sound? Although I know most times you need like a carpenter to do that, like or a home inspection, but like, I expect like a real estate agent for a house has seen, like, they look at houses all day long.
We're gonna know the market, in the market value, where they're trading, and all those things.
But even like condition wise, like they can. I mean, obviously they can always zoom call you in so they can kind of.
Sure.
But the picture's not going to be great. Whereas if you stepped on the boat, you might have seen 5 different center consoles.
Sure.
You could kind of probably see, well, that's not in great shape. That's not in great shape. The price doesn't reflect the shape that it's in.
Well, and there's always that. There's a ton of factors that go into it. But a lot of times nowadays, people are making offers on stuff based on visual inspections. A visual inspection allows them to get out of the contract without spending thousands of dollars to inspect it and all those things after getting on it. Because it's been sort of a dog-eat-dog market. People haven't, and that's the only thing that I maybe don't love about the market, is that it hasn't allowed people the normal time to process the decision making that they want to do. And I don't know if it leads into more people getting cold feet or than selling the boat, saying that they made the wrong decision because they were kind of pressured to get something. Because a lot of times when you want something, and you're like, okay, I'd prefer this, but we want something for the season. So what are our options?
Now, have you seen more people sell quicker because they regret the purchase? Because of that, let's say they bought it sight unseen.
Sure.
And they're like, you know what? I bought it. I don't like it.
Boats are impulsive, yeah. I mean, I have, and those are mostly express boats and center consoles that I'll deal with more. But the funny thing is, trawlers are hard right now because there's not a lot of good, clean inventory for them. And these are the actual people using them the way they're supposed to be used. They're going from Maine to Florida. And the people buying them and trying to buy them are the boomers. So they're the baby boomer generation, a lot of which had sailboats before. They want something economical that can go long distance. However, they want to go a little bit faster. They're buying trawlers and passage maker yachts, and they're one of the harder ones to find in really good condition. These people are doing like the bucket list. They're doing the Great Loop,
right?
Those types of things.
So is the Great Loop, is that the ICW, then up the Mississippi, then through
Mississippi.
the Great Lakes?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not the Panama Canal.
No.
That's where I'd want to go through. I always wanted to take a cruise ship through the Panama Canal.
They run through them.
They do. Yeah, no, I know. Like you can get one from like Florida to San Diego, or San Diego, whatever. I always wanted to just go through it because I think it'd be just cool to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be
as
cool
the ship
too.
gets lowered and raised, and although with my luck, it would happen at night, so I wouldn't get to see a damn thing.
or you're on that evergreen that got stuck for a while, right?
Oh my god! Well,
Is that thing still there?
Not Chick-fil-A got it out of there. They hired Chick-fil-A to deal with the logistics.
Does anyone else think that's really strange that the company that owns the ship that got stuck in the Chesapeake Bay, same company that got stuck in the Suez Canal?
Yeah.
Like, is it just? I mean, I gotta admit, in reality, it's probably just bad luck because the pilots were the ones on the ships at those points in time.
Yeah.
Although I don't know about that for the Chesapeake Bay. I don't know how
just think
far
there
the
was
pilots go.
There was the Malaysian 777 that disappeared.
Right.
And then there's the one that got shot down over Ukraine.
Oh, God, yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
Those are both Malaysia Air.
Yeah. They're both 777s.
Out of Kuala Lumpur, right?
Remind me never to
That
fly
was
Malaysia
Can
Air.
you believe that was 2014? It was that long ago.
Yeah.
Which one?
I
The one that
forget.
disappeared or the one that got shot down?
They happened like right around the same time. It was like not like day or week or month even, but it was close to when the one got shot down. It was close enough to the previous one that you still remembered the one that disappeared.
The whole thing was weird.
Who pissed somebody off over there, huh?
Well, the one that got shot down was part of the whole original Russia-Ukraine thing.
Well, if you're gonna test something or you're gonna try that, that's probably the part of the world where you could get away with it.
Well, but that jet was at 37,000 feet. There's no way some untrained dude with a man pad shot that thing down.
Well, I remember I had a boat inspection the day after that news broke, and the boat mechanics that were down there doing the engine survey, we were all having a conversation about it, and they looked at me and they're like, "Yeah, there's a lot of data those engines put out, and that everybody tracks. They're like, somebody knows who that thing is and what's going on."
Oh, the one that disappeared?
Yeah,
because they communicate back to they communicate with Boeing. So if say it has GE or Rolls-Royce, those engines are communicating with GE or Rolls-Royce, and everyone involved. Like, they're putting out all kinds of stuff.
Didn't they say the black box is off though?
I don't know.
I thought they claimed they found parts of it that they could link back to it, and I don't know.
Yeah. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, actually, it is because an airplane became a ship.
Yeah, yeah, or a submarine.
That's probably a little insensitive, huh?
But so you're
Thanks, Sully.
yeah.
I'm the captain now.
But I think it's now. Do you ever operate as like a buyer's agent, or you just strictly list boats to sell? Like, if I wanted to buy a boat, could I employ you as a buyer's agent? Like, I can apply a real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's basically half of what we do. In certain times a year, if we don't have buyers that we're working with, we got to hit up listings or to create buyers.
Yeah.
You gotta have a good balance. You gotta motivate yourself. You gotta always kind of stay active and busy on that. But it's kind of like real estate, because a lot of the customers we get as buyers agents are people that we sold a boat to before. You get referrals. Somebody who owns a boat says, "Hey, call my friend Smitty. He helped us find this," and give him a call. He'll help you find something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if I went and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a, Sea Ray Amberjack," and you start finding Sea Ray Amberjacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's and then I guess from that point you could, because I remember when my wife and I bought our house, we'd look at this and he'd be like, my the buyer's agent will be like, oh, do you know the area? Do you that's stuff to avoid. So like a boat that has a bad reputation that for like, oh, hey, don't go with that. It's that's junk, you know.
No, and there's a lot of things that we've learned throughout the years and about problems some of the manufacturers have. There's a lot of stuff we do know. And I have to admit, we don't know everything about all the boats. That's the only thing different about being brokerage versus being a dealer. A dealer specializes in one particular model, which is great in some ways. You learn a lot about it, but it doesn't give you the brand knowledge about all the other ones out there as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it kind of like cars where you like there's brands you just avoid? Or I guess maybe not so much brands, but like obviously there's only so many engines, right? So a lot of these brands use the same engines. Like there's probably Yamaha, Mercruiser.
Yeah, most of them are the same.
Honda
use all the same engines, other than different types of propulsion. We have pods now that some people love, some people are steering away from.
Azapods?
No, the transmission. Mm-hmm. Which helps you basically dock the boat. They have a joystick control that helps them dock the boat, but you're essentially either forward-facing or aft-facing props that are integrated in the bottom of the engine. And they had them on freights years ago, and they've adopted it. 2006, I think, is when they first got. Volvo IPS has it, and then Cummins came out with Zeus, which is a different system that matched with them. And, there's a whole new set of, stuff you got to deal with. And maintenance involved in that. That's the difference between our market and some other stuff. Is that boats? Let's be honest. There's always something that needs to be done, and there's.
Well, it's just like an RV. It's a money pit.
Yeah.
There's always something that's gonna be broke.
What does boat stand for? Break out another 1,000.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It is.
But like when I look at boats, I always want, I'm always looking more at outboards rather than. Inboard outboards. I don't want to mess with outdrives.
Yeah, and everybody nowadays, they're adding outboards to big boats now that you wouldn't think. They're adding them to like down east boats. Tierra. Mm-hmm. Tierra sold Pursuit. Pursuit was their line that dealt with outboards. Now they're doing their own outboards.
Mm-hmm. Outboards are dedicated marine engines where an an inboard outboard is essentially if it's a 5.7 Mercruiser, that's a car engine. It's a Chevy 350.
Well, around here, so some of the appeal to the IO is the fact that you can raise and trim, you can trim it up and down a little bit, but it also, so you get into some, the benefit of having an outboard on that side, but also a lot of times the swim platform covers up the outdrive so that that people feel comfortable, safety to operate the boat and be able to do water sports behind it and tubes. But nowadays, especially with outboards, it's not hard to add these things on that can help you do that.
Yeah. Have you seen the outboards that the entire outboard doesn't turn? It's just a little section at the bottom of it that turns. I think those are pretty cool.
Well, a lot of them, I think, if you have like 3 engines, the one in the middle, the length of the props is a little bit different to angle perfectly for the boat. It's pretty cool. But we're at the point though where there's a lot of dealers that are getting new inventory of boats and they don't have any outboards to put on them.
So the boats are just sitting there with no
it's.
And the thing is, I didn't realize how expensive. Because I'm looking, how expensive can that Yamaha 150 be? Like 10 grand.
As our government has taught us in the last several years, it's only money. Man. Yeah. It's only money.
And then you see some of these boats that have like, so I follow this thing, it's called Center Consoles Only on Instagram.
Sure, yep.
And they showed like these boats that are just insane. And it's like, these dudes, I guess like a big dick measuring contest. Like, oh, I've got a 56-foot center console and it's got, 600 horsepower outboards hanging off the back of it, and it's like
a drug dealer machine.
You just gave me an idea for an OnlyFans. It's an OnlyFans, but you go and show people boats.
It's not a bad idea.
And you say, look at this big engine, and look at this really long water pipeline. You sexy it up a little bit, and you just go. Look,
can we have Barry White do the speaking in the background?
Here.
That's essentially what center consoles only is. It's boat porn.
It's like,
It really
you have a
is, yeah.
center console
But every now and then,
with a really long turning radius.
but every now and then they'll do a like an everyman's boat. Like they had a trophy on the other day.
Yeah.
Which people crap on trophy, but
Listen, man, there is a YouTube channel or an OnlyFans channel in here somewhere.
I'm sure there is.
Look, I literally watched a dude.
this is sounding great.
Where are we going?
I was like,
with
wow,
this?
this could sound really bad. Now, I literally watched this guy out of Poland. He just has a YouTube channel where he cleans rugs, like dirty rugs, and he like sprays it with the soap. He like sprinkles the soap on with a flouring can.
Sprinkles,
and then he takes the floor cleaner, like the rotary rug cleaner thing, the floor cleaner, and he's going back and forth with it, and the water, the dirty water's coming. I swear to God, if someone can, and he's got like 500,000 views per video. If that guy can get 500,000, imagine what you just showing a different boat, 30-minute video just showing boats.
That's true.
Each boat.
I will sit there and watch the center consoles only boat reviews. Like that's where I found the Axopar, which I think is the coolest thing.
Oh, they are really cool.
Yeah.
I watch guys do car reviews all the time. Why wouldn't I watch someone do a boat review and an RV review?
Yeah.
Well, and it's obviously the last couple of years, it's definitely boating has definitely gone up, but we'll have to see. I still think some of it's short lived.
Well, the cash is going to dry up at some point because they've even started talking about this with repos and with cars.
Sure.
The repos on cars in the last, I want to say 4 months, has gone way up because people can't afford the payments anymore. They got their stimmies.
Yeah, there's going to be
and
some.
They went and started spending them.
There's definitely going to be some. At least from our standpoint, I really think we're probably going to have a good inventory to fight over, though, at some point when you get the turnover of, I guess, what people want to label the COVID buyers. And not a lot of it's not just the COVID buyers, just they've added another wrinkle to the market and there not being enough availability of boats. It's added to it.
Well, in the RV world, we had the same thing when there was a run on when there was COVID and people still wanted to go on vacation.
Sure.
They could get in an RV and go. Well, the RV supply kind of, just like everything else, kind of just got soaked up. And so people that have RVs now that have been in it for a while, they're all kind of waiting for the bottom to drop, where all these people that bought them during COVID, now that plane travel's back, a lot of restrictions got lifted.
Sure. People
can go back to the vacations they were used to. And at some point, they're going to sell these RVs that they bought brand new, and they're going to be like a year or two old, maybe 3, and they're just going to be trying to dump them from where they can get, and the prices should go way down. Now, cars are going to be a little bit different because manufacturers are going to kind of restrain the new supply, but with RVs, you pretty much pump out what the factory can put out there, and
yeah, it's going to be.
If they don't watch out, there's
interesting.
going to be a glut of used ones and new ones at the same time. If that happens at the same time, prices will drop like a rock with RVs. I don't know about boats, but
it's going to be interesting. But the only other thing is, we are part of this generation though, whose parents are the boomers, and the average boater a few years ago was in their late 50s. The average person that bought a boat, and it's starting to get a little bit younger. More younger people are getting involved. But, I also think we have a generation of people our age that are going to inherit a lot of money from the baby boomer population because it's a big population. That might help every industry keep going. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know the timing of it all, but
I think you're right. But I also don't think it's just the baby boomer generation that's going to pass on money. I think the quote unquote greatest generation. So there's not too many people left over from World War II.
Yeah.
But just, I guess the generation from the World War II generation is considered the boomers. Mm-hmm. But there's like a little bit in between there.
Yes.
So like boomers right now, like are in their late 60s to early 80s. So I guess that's. I think you're right. I mean, you got a lot of that World War II generation that kind of lived into their 90s.
Because they're
starting to kind of pass away.
Because think about that's the generation where they built a house for $50,000 and they're selling for $800,000 now. Now I understand there's inflation, there's all these other things that are factored in.
Well, they were also the generation, the last generation that lived through the Depression.
Yeah,
that generation saves money like crazy because they didn't do anything with credit; they did everything with cash. The boomers were kind of the ones that started using credit again. Our generation, though, and we've talked about this in the past, our generation, I think, is a little bit skittish as far as spending money, at least a certain portion of it, because of 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. You know, when the 401ks became 201ks, you know, everyone was like, wait a minute. And I for a while there, before COVID and everything, credit card debt was at historic lows.
Yeah.
Like credit balances on credit cards and whatnot. Because people took that time in 2008, 2009. They're like, well, wait a minute. I got to start saving some cash. And then when they saved the cash, they paid down that credit card debt.
But yeah, and with interest rates so low, though, all the things we were taught growing up, we were taught work hard, save money. Okay, great. But how do you grow it? And the Federal Reserve and, you know, the way that they've been running things lately. I remember reading about Ben Bernanke. He was a study of the Great Depression, and his thought was, okay, keep interest rates low, interest rates low, and basically force people to spend their money the way you want them to do it, and investing it, because you could put it all. Remember my grandmother, before she passed away, 92 years old, she had all this money in a CD getting 1%
Yeah.
I said, what are you doing? And she's like, well, young man, before when we had a standard, before we manipulated currency and printed and burned money and did all these things, like, you go with the guaranteed. I lived through the Depression. I get that. But you just can't grow as much in the bank, or you haven't been able to in recent years. Maybe that'll change with the rates going up. But
the interest rates were rates were like 0.5%.
But by keeping the interest rates low, it's forcing you to say, okay, how do I grow this? Do you buy another property? You turn it into a rental investment property? Do you invest in the stock market? And I think a lot of people our generation are not really as comfortable or as knowledgeable. I admit I'm not on the stock market. My father, that's his thing.
See, with me, my retirement money, through my employer, is in stocks. Right,
okay.
It's in a 401k type investment, and we've got a separate Roth and whatever it is. But so I'm exposed to it, but it's something I'm never really going to look at.
I know.
I'm going to contribute, and when I retire, I'm going to hope it's there, right?
Like our Social Security.
Yeah, well,
no, that's not going to be so.
I hope someone's going to be there, but I guess it's going to be really. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens with it, because I feel like the government and the Fed in general did our generation a huge disservice by keeping interest rates so low for so long, because we didn't have that safe savings place.
And I think it's because they couldn't afford the debt the interest in our own debt.
Right.
That's part of the reason.
But the problem is, though, let's say we wanted to save some money.
Yeah.
Let's say I can sock away $200 a month. Well, I can't put it in my savings account because I'm going to earn 0.5%. I'm actually going to lose money, because if inflation is 2% or 2.5%, which they're keeping interest rates low to avoid. Well, if I go and I put my money in my savings account to earn 0.5% and inflation is 2 to 2.5%, I'm losing 2% per year by sticking in my savings account. I need to find, that's the thing people don't understand. If you're not earning inflation or more, you're not actually saving any money. You're losing money, which is why they also say if you can borrow money at the rate of inflation or less, then you borrow the money. It's like free money because you're paying at less than the rate of inflation.
So what did Warren Buffett always say? Find a way to make money while you sleep, or you're not going to be able to sleep because you're going to... No, is that what it is? Find a way to make money while you sleep.
Right.
Or you're not going to sleep over how to make money.
Right.
So there's where your
passive income, right?
So that's where your OnlyFans page comes up, Alex.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, that OnlyFans where you show engines, you start it up. That's gonna be the money shot when you start the engine up.
It's not a bad
someone's just gonna
idea.
explode right there. Someone just explode. Oh,
it's not a bad idea.
God. Thank you, Smitty. Here's $5, and you have the bell ding when they donate the $5. Ding ding ding
You
ding.
can pull a little fire the cannon.
You still might have to like pour chocolate sauce on your feet or something.
You know what?
So-
And you hire a model in a bikini, show the boat off.
The Baywatch theme song on
Listen,
the background.
man.
I got you.
Listen, I think we just found the enterprise that we need to get. Screw
You
this.
use other people's boats to do it.
Yeah, forget the podcast. What are we doing? It's like
You mean like in Step Brothers, use someone else's boat?
it's
Boats
like,
knows.
it's like with the porn companies. They don't own the houses they shoot the movies in. They just use the movies as the set. They use the houses as the set.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I think I probably did.
Maybe.
I just really didn't think that much about it.
I'm trying to think. Are there any other parts of a sale? I mean, obviously, paying for it and using the boat, but I think we covered the before, the middle.
Well, the closing. Well, once you go through the process and you agree you want to move forward, a lot of times there's negotiating afterwards. It's inspected. You either take it as it is, you don't buy it, or you buy it conditionally. Say, I want to buy it, but I want you to do this and this, or take this much off. And once you agree to terms, the closing department pulls the abstract of the title, like on buying a home, and they go through the process of the paperwork. And it takes a little time for some of the paperwork, bills of sale. If you got to pay off a loan, if you got to pay off the mortgage that's on there, they'll satisfy that at closing, and Coast Guard document, and all those things they'll do. It's not. I mean, the closing part is the least exciting part. The amount of paperwork that goes into it is, in any business, is the nauseating part of it. But it's just the way to do it legally and correct.
Listen, this is probably the episode I probably learned the most out of. So we appreciate you stopping by.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
It was a long walk through the neighborhood to get here.
Actually, I drove.
That's all right.
the time of
Usually drive
day.
out of you. All right, so they can. If anyone is looking for a boat, hey, we're getting into boating season. Weather's getting nicer out. SmithYachtGroup.com to contact Smitty. See if he can get you in a nice boat. Also, thank you to Portac Limited Wines and Spirits, or Portac Limited Wines and Spirits. Sorry, messing up the sponsor's name now. That's great, isn't it?
Hey, that's the only place we go to.
That's right. Get your go down there, see what selections of wines they got, because I know they just redid their wine selection. The spring beers are finally out, and of course they got the tried and true spirits, the liquors. Head on over there. If you're not even sure what you want to drink, maybe you're looking for something new, go ahead and ask. See what they can recommend for you. That's Baydale. That's Portac Limited Wines and Spirits in the Baydale Plaza in Arnold, Maryland 21012. And if you can, please share this podcast episode. Share it with a friend. Maybe you got someone who's interested in buying a boat who just doesn't even know where to start,
Or wants to sell one.
or maybe wants to sell one. That's
We
right.
need inventory. We're burning through it.
Listen, if you're not using that boat that much, if you're only taking it out a couple times a year, look, maybe now's the time to put it on the market, sell it, and maybe in a year or two, when the boat prices maybe they come back down, you kind of you make money on this boat, and you get another one a couple years down the road, you get it for a little less, and get yourself in a better financial position, boat wise. But if you can, share this episode with a friend, share it on Facebook, Instagram, click the like button on YouTube. Hopefully you liked it, and we'll see you next time.